Hi, I'm Mary. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we're just going to go over a little bit of factoring. So if you need more factoring, then you can ask me and we'll try to find more resources. But I just wanted to go over some basic factoring concepts. So actually, when we talk about factoring, I like to start with multiplying polynomials and then see what happens here. And then we'll talk about coming back in the other direction, which is really the factoring. Okay, so in this case, we're going to multiply by distribution. We'll take that 3x, multiply it for number 12, 3x plus 2 times x plus 7. 3x gets multiplied first by the x and then by the 7. And then we'll go and we'll grab the 2 to distribute it through. Okay. So we get 3x squared, 21 plus 21x plus 2x plus 14. And we combine like terms. We see that there are terms in x that can be combined. There's only one term in x squared. So it's 3x squared. We're combining to get 23x plus 14. Okay, so that's my answer, but I'll put a box around it. Really, what I was interested in here is to note when we go from left to right, we're distributing, we're multiplying, we're using FOIL, whatever you like, however you like to think about that. When we go from left to right, if we go from right to left, we're factoring. So I just want to make sure that connection is there. So I could ask you to factor this expression on the right, and then the answer would be the expression on the left. So we're just going to play around a little bit in a few different kinds of factoring problems as an example. Okay, so I skipped around a little bit because I wanted to come to factoring a trinomial, which is similar to the product, the multiplication we have just done. So we are asked to factor x squared minus 4x minus 45, or state that it's prime. Okay, a prime polynomial is one that can no longer be factored. So it's a trinomial. We start by opening up our two brackets. X squared, the coefficient of x squared is 1, so we know for sure that it's x and x. There's no other coefficients in the front to worry about. The negative sign in front of the 45 means that one of these one of the signs will be positive and one will be negative. And now we're looking for two values that multiply to 45 to negative 45, but add to minus 4. So if we think about things that multiply to negative 45, for example, minus 45, minus 1 and 45, 1 and minus 45, minus 5 and 9, 5. And minus 9. So those are the options. But because the cross term, the middle term is negative, we know that the larger is going to be the negative. So it's either going to be the 5 and the minus 9 or the 1 and the minus 45, because we need the negative sign to rule. In this case, we want the difference to be negative 4. So we'll go with 9 and 5. To convince yourself, we should multiply it out. X squared minus 9x plus 5x minus 45. And you can see that the center terms, like we call them the cross terms, combine to get to your minus 4. And we have checked our factoring. All right, great. Moving on to the next. Okay, so on the worksheet, I ask you to factor using the greatest common factor, but actually you don't need to have that as sort of a guideline, I could just ask you to factor this. And the first thing we do is we remove the greatest common factors. So I noticed that there's a 4 here and a 28, and 28 is 4 times 7. So we can take a 4 out there, and there's an x and an x squared. So the greatest common factor is 4x, and it leaves x, so and 7. Okay, and how did I know that? I want to find what do I, when I pull out the 4x, what's left? Just the x. When I pull out the 4x, what's left? Minus 7. Okay. That's greatest common factor. Here's an example of factoring by grouping. So we're going to just group the first 2 terms. And I'm choosing the first 2 terms. If this is going to be helpful, you know, as long as you find 2 terms that have something common in them, and then another 2 terms that has something common in. That's kind of how you explore for factor by grouping. And I do see that these 2 terms over here have a 2 in common, and these terms here have an x squared in common. So let's go ahead and pull out each of the common factors x squared from x cubed leaves us x, and x squared, when I take it out of minus 3x squared, I end up with minus 3. Okay, that's nice. And these 2 guys, they have a 2, and factoring that out, I get 2 times x minus 3. In this case, notice that there is a common factor. If we had done this and there was no common factor, then we couldn't go any further. But here, because the x minus 3 is common, we can factor out the x minus 3. So we'll pull that out here. And leave behind x squared plus 2. So this is just another way of, this is a way of factoring. It's called factoring by grouping. So another kind of factoring we have is if we notice that that the expression is a binomial, first thing we would do would be to take out the greatest common factor for the problem on the board, which by the way, isn't on the worksheet. I just wanted to do it, so I put it up there. There is no common factor. So then the second question, is it a difference? It is. Is it a difference of perfect squares? It is. This is x squared. And 9 is 3 squared, right? So let's just write the 9 as a 3 squared. And maybe you don't, again, need to go through that. That's fine. But what we see is that this is x minus 3, x plus 3. The difference of 2 perfect squares, factors like this. Let's check it. So we're going to go ahead and check it out. X squared plus 3x minus 3x minus 9. The middle terms cancel, x squared minus 9. Okay, so I have a couple more problems. Let's go ahead and look at number 18. And we're looking at 25x squared minus 81, where we can recognize 25x squared is 5x squared and 81 is 9 squared. So this is going to be 5x minus 9, 5x plus 9, and your check would be to multiply through. When you do, you'll see your middle term will cancel. Okay, so that's it for this quick review of factoring, and I'll see you in the next video.